In this video, we're going to talk about polynomial equations. A polynomial equation is an equation that contains a polynomial expression. In this course, we're going to only consider polynomial equations in one variable. Now, before we've solved polynomial equations, those were degree 1 equations, also known as linear equations. So let's talk about what we had done for linear equations. Our goal was to isolate the variable. We did that by simplifying each side of the equation, so that means using the distributive property and then combining like terms, and then we used opposite operations to isolate the variable on one side of the equal sign. Those are the addition or the multiplication principles of equality. So here's an example of a linear equation, 2x minus 7 equals 3. The first thing that we would do here would be to add 7 to both sides, and then we would obtain the equivalent equation, 2x equals 10, and then we would divide both sides by positive 2 to get x equals 5. Our solution would be 5, and that's the value of the variable that would make this statement true. Now, when we're looking at polynomial equations of higher degree, we still want to isolate the variable. But if we have a second degree equation or higher, sometimes it's hard to do that in the very same way that we do for a linear equation. So in order for us to solve a polynomial equation, we have to use something called the zero product property. This property tells us that if we have a statement a times b equals 0, then we know that either a or b must be 0. The only way to get a product of 0 is if one of the parts of the product are 0. So for example, if we had a product of two binomials, x plus 2 times x minus 3, and if we knew that that product was equal to 0, then we could conclude that either the factor x plus 2 is 0 or the factor x minus 3 is 0. These are actually both linear equations that we could solve by using the addition principle. And if we solved each of these equations, we would find that the solutions are x equals negative 2 or x equals 3. So we would get two solutions for this statement. So we're going to use this zero product property in order to solve polynomial equations when they're higher than degree 1. But in order for us to use that zero product rule, we have to make sure that one side of the equation is equal to 0. So we're going to take all of the terms and move them all to one side of the equal sign. Then we're going to factor the polynomial completely, which means use any factoring method that you can possibly use. Once we factor completely, we're going to apply the zero product rule and set each of the factors equal to 0. Then we'll solve each of those equations, and the check is there as an optional choice if we want to make sure that we've solved correctly. All right, so in this video, we're going to take a look at these three examples, and we'll see that we have different factoring methods that are used in each one.